I remember that day like it was yesterday, the pain hitting me so hard I could barely breathe. I'm Thorne, 45 years old, and I've been busting my back as a construction worker for over 20 years, building homes for other people while my own life crumbled bit by bit. My hernia had been acting up for months, a sharp stab in my gut every time I lifted something heavy. But I pushed through because that's what I do. I provide for my family, even if it means ignoring the warnings from my body. Welcome to Brian's Stories. I share new life stories here every day, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video. Drop a comment down below telling me where you're watching from and what time it is for you, right now. I read every single comment, and it helps me to know I'm not alone in this. That afternoon on the job site, everything went black for a second. I doubled over, clutching my side, sweat pouring down my face as the world spun around me. My coworkers rushed me to the hospital, and the doctor didn't waste any time. "Mr. Thorne, this hernia is severe," he said, his voice steady but urgent as he examined the scans. "It's not fully strangulated yet, so we're stabilizing you with pain meds and monitoring right now under EMTALA guidelines. We can't turn you away for an emergency. But you need surgery within the next 24 to 72 hours to prevent it from worsening into a life-threatening complication like a rupture or infection." I nodded through the haze of pain, my mind racing to our joint savings account. We had about $15,000 tucked away, enough to cover the surgery since our insurance deductible was high and wouldn't cover it all. Up front, I called my wife, Vesper, right there from the emergency room, my voice shaky as I explained what was happening. "Vesper, honey, the doctor says I need surgery soon. We have to use the savings. It's bad, but they stabilized me for now." She paused on the other end, and I could hear the rustle of papers or something in the background. "Thorne, we can't touch that money right now," she replied, her tone flat, like she was discussing the weather. "It's set aside for our vacation to Hawaii, the one that's going to help us reconnect and reduce all this stress in our marriage. You've been dealing with that hernia okay so far. A little delay won't hurt if it means we can finally take that trip we've needed." I blinked, thinking I must have heard her wrong. The pain meds were kicking in, but not enough to dull the shock. "What? Vesper, this is my health we're talking about. The doctor says 24 to 72 hours max. We can postpone the trip. I'll sign whatever form to access the account." "No," she said firmly, her voice rising a notch. "I manage the online banking and passwords because you asked me to handle the finances years ago. Remember, you even signed that power of attorney so I could make decisions if you were tied up at work. I'm not authorizing any withdrawal now. This surgery sounds expensive, and dipping into our future like that could ruin our plans. The trip will rejuvenate us both. It's for our marriage, Thorne. You can hold off a bit longer." The doctor overheard part of the conversation and asked to speak with her. I handed over the phone, hoping he'd convince her. He explained the risks clearly. "Mrs. Vesper, your husband is stable for now with the treatment we've provided, but surgery is mandatory within 24 to 72 hours. Delaying beyond that could lead to serious issues, and the cost is around $10,000. We need approval to schedule it." She responded calmly, almost reasonably. "Doctor, I understand, but we're focused on long-term stability here. That money is for something that'll heal our family stress overall. Thorne's tough. He'll manage until we sort this out after the vacation. Thanks for stabilizing him today." Then she hung up just like that. I lay there on the hospital bed, the monitors beeping steadily as another wave of agony hit me despite the meds, staring at the ceiling while nurses adjusted my IV. In my mind, I flashed back to all the years I'd sacrificed, working overtime shifts in the rain, skipping my own doctor visits to pay for her spa days and designer clothes. Vesper had always loved the finer things, and I'd indulged her, thinking that's what a good husband does, even giving her full control over our accounts out of trust. But now, here I was, alone in this sterile room, my life on a tight deadline. And she was at home packing brochures for tropical resorts, dreaming of beaches while I fought for breath. The injustice burned hotter than the pain in my gut. How could she prioritize a vacation over my life, justifying it as, for our marriage? I'd given her everything, supported her through her job losses and her endless shopping sprees. But when I needed her most, she turned cold, using her control over the finances to block me. The doctor came back, shaking his head. "I'm sorry, Mr. Thorne. We've stabilized you as required, but without funds or approval for the surgery. We have to discharge you with instructions to follow up immediately. Get that procedure scheduled soon. Don't wait beyond 72 hours. I managed a weak nod, but inside, despair clawed at me. As they wheeled me out to the waiting area, I saw a family hugging nearby, a husband comforting his wife after her procedure. And it hit me how unbalanced our marriage had become. Vesper picked me up later that evening, not even asking how I felt. "See? They took care of you. she said as I eased into the car, wincing with every movement. This trip will be good for us. It'll reduce your stress and make everything better in the long run. But I couldn't forget. That night, lying in bed, unable to sleep from the throbbing ache, I replayed her words over and over. The betrayal stung deep, built on years of me putting her first, only to be discarded when it mattered. It pushed me to the edge, highlighting how she'd manipulated our finances, always steering money toward her whims while I suffered in silence. I knew then that something had to change, but in that moment, all I could do was endure the pain, both physical and emotional, wondering how much more I could take before I broke. The next morning, Vesper was already up, scrolling through travel sites on her laptop at the kitchen table. "Look at this resort, Thorne," she said excitedly, turning the screen toward me as I hobbled in for coffee. "Private beach, all-inclusive. It's perfect for healing our relationship after all this. We deserve it." I stared at her, the anger bubbling up. "Vesper, they said surgery within 72 hours. How can you plan a vacation when my health is on the line? I need access to that account." She rolled her eyes, sipping her tea. "You're exaggerating the urgency to guilt me. The doctor stabilized you, right? We need to think about our future. This trip will fix the stress causing your issues in the first place. I'm keeping the money safe for that." I slammed my mug down, the hot liquid splashing over the edge. "Exaggerating? I collapsed at work. They rushed me to the ER. This isn't stress, it's a hernia that's getting worse because we're not addressing it." "Lower your voice," she hissed, glancing around as if the neighbors could hear. "I'm not changing my mind. That savings is for us to enjoy life and strengthen our bond, not waste on a procedure we can schedule after. If you're in that much pain, take more pills. The trip will make you feel brand new." The conversation spiraled from there, her dismissing every plea I made with talk of our future and marriage healing. But I tried reasoning, begging even, but she shut me down each time. Her eyes cold and unyielding despite her excuses. By the end, I was exhausted, retreating to the couch while she continued browsing hotels, humming to herself like nothing happened. That hook of cruelty sank deep, exposing the rot in our marriage I'd ignored for too long. It was the start of something bigger, an injustice I couldn't let stand. The days after that ER scare blurred into a haze of pain and frustration, each one chipping away at what little hope I had left in our marriage. I woke up the next morning with my gut throbbing like someone had kicked me repeatedly. The hernia reminding me that time was ticking down on that 24 to 72-hour window the doctor had warned about. I dragged myself to the bathroom, splashing water on my face, staring at my reflection, pale, bags under my eyes, looking 10 years older than 45. Vesper was already in the kitchen, her laptop open as always, clicking away at more vacation deals like nothing had happened. I shuffled in, grabbing a chair to steady myself as I sat down. "Vesper, we need to talk about this seriously," I said, my voice low but firm. "The pain's getting worse. I can barely move without it hitting me. We have to schedule that surgery today. You control the accounts. Let's just transfer the money to the hospital." She didn't even look up from the screen, her fingers tapping rapidly. "Thorne, you're starting this again? I told you yesterday the savings are for Hawaii. It's not just a trip, it's an investment in us. All this stress from your job is probably making the hernia act up more. Once we're on the beach relaxing, it'll sort itself out." I leaned forward, wincing as the movement pulled at my side. "Investment in us? This isn't stress, Vesper. It's a medical issue. The doctor said 24 to 72 hours. If we wait, it could rupture. How is a vacation going to fix that?" Finally, she glanced at me, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Doctors always exaggerate to get you in for procedures. Remember your uncle? He had something similar and waited months, no big deal. We're not blowing 10 grand on this when we could use it for something that actually makes us happy. I've already diverted some from our checking account to lock in the hotel deposit. Non-refundable, by the way." My stomach dropped, not just from the pain, but from her words. "You did what?" "That's our household money. We need that for bills, groceries." "How much did you take?" She shrugged, closing the laptop with a snap. "Just a couple thousand. It's fine, we'll cut back on other stuff. No more eating out, and you can skip those follow-up appointments the doctor mentioned. They're probably just upsells anyway. A trip will rejuvenate us more than any checkup." I felt a surge of anger mix with the ache in my gut, making it hard to breathe steady. I stood up slowly, gripping the table edge. "Skip the appointments? Vesper, those are to monitor the hernia before surgery. You're dismissing this like it's nothing. I've been hurting for months, pushing through work to keep us afloat, and now you're raiding our accounts for a vacation I don't even want right now?" She stood too, crossing her arms, her face set in that stubborn way I'd seen too many times. "Oh, come on, Thorne. You're always so dramatic about your health. It's exaggeration to get attention, isn't it? We've talked about this. Your job's tough, but a break in Hawaii will fix everything. I'm doing this for our marriage, to bring us closer. If you keep pushing for surgery, it'll just add more debt and stress. I paced a little, each step sending jolts through me, but I couldn't sit still. Attention? I've been collapsing at work, Vesper. This isn't made up. And what about the power of attorney? You said it was for convenience, but now you're using it to block me from my own money. That's not fair. Her laugh was short and sharp, echoing in the kitchen. Fair? Life's not fair, Thorne. I handle the finances because you're always at the site, covered in dirt, too tired to deal with it. Remember when you signed that? You trusted me then. Now you're questioning everything just because of a little pain? The trip's what we need. Sun, sand. No worries, it'll heal us both. I sank back into the chair, rubbing my temples as the headache started building on top of everything else. That afternoon, I tried to go back to work, but my boss sent me home after I nearly dropped a beam, the pain flaring up bad. When I got back, Vesper was on the phone with the travel agent, laughing about upgrades. I stood in the doorway, listening as she confirmed more payments from our joint card. Vesper, hang up, I said, stepping in. We can't afford this. My surgery. She held up a finger, mouthing 1 second, then finished the call. There, flight's booked. Exciting, right? Now, about dinner, let's order in. Oh wait, I cut that budget. Sandwiches it is. I exploded then, my voice louder than I'd meant. You booked flights? With what money? We had bills due. And now you're diverting everything to this fantasy trip. I'm in pain here, real pain, and you're acting like it's a vacation fix-all. She turned, her expression turning cold. Fantasy? This is our dream, Thorne. You've been neglecting us with all your work complaints. The hernia is probably from stress. The doctor even said complications from delay. But you're stable now. A trip will rejuvenate us, make our marriage stronger. Stop mocking my plans. I tried to calm down, sitting at the table as she made sandwiches. I'm not mocking, but dismissing my pain as exaggeration? That hurts more than the hernia. We've been together 15 years. I've supported your shopping, your job changes. Now I need support and you're isolating me from decisions. She slid a plate over, not meeting my eyes. Isolating? I'm including you in the vacation. Eat up, we'll talk later. Maybe you'll see how this benefits us. That night, the pain kept me up, twisting in bed while Vesper slept soundly. I thought about calling the bank myself, but she had all the passwords. The power of attorney locking me out. The next day, it got worse. She canceled my follow-up appointment without telling me. I found out when the doctor's office called to confirm, and I had to explain awkwardly. Why'd you cancel? I asked her over lunch, my sandwich barely touched. She sipped her coffee casually. It was conflicting with my spa day, and we need to save. Those appointments are just to push surgery. Trust me, the trip's better medicine. I pushed my plate away, frustration boiling over. Save? You're spending on spas now? This is escalating, Vesper. You're diverting every cent to your plans, leaving me powerless. My condition's deteriorating. I blacked out for a second driving home yesterday. She rolled her eyes again. Blackout? Probably low blood sugar. Eat better. I'm not changing course. This vacation will fix our shared life. You'll thank me later. Her words cut deep, revealing how little she cared anymore. I pleaded during dinner that evening, the table set with cheap pasta since she'd tightened the budget. Vesper, please. Let's use the savings. I can't keep hoping you'll change while this gets worse. She forked her food, shaking her head. Hoping I'll change? You're the one resisting what's good for us. The trip rejuvenates, surgery can wait. End of discussion. I stared at my plate, the frustration building like the pain in my side. She was gradually shutting me out of everything. Finances, decisions, even acknowledging my suffering. It kept me hooked on that slim hope she'd snap out of it. But deep down, her selfishness was tearing us apart, my health paying the price. As the hours ticked toward that 72-hour mark, I felt more isolated than ever. Her disregard growing with each diversion of funds. I tried one last time before bed, sitting on the couch as she scrolled hotels again. Vesper, this is our life. Don't let it fall apart over a vacation. She closed the laptop, standing up. It won't if you stop fighting me. Good night, Thorne. Dream of beaches, it'll help. I lay there alone, the ache constant, wondering how much more I could take before something broke. The final day of that 72-hour window started with me waking up in a cold sweat. My hernia pain radiating out like fire through my entire abdomen, every breath feeling like a struggle. I hadn't managed more than a few sips of water or bites of food since the ER, the nausea from the pain meds keeping my stomach in knots. And now dehydration was making my head pound, dizziness creeping in at the edges of my vision. Vesper was already in the kitchen, her laptop open as she clicked through confirmation emails for the vacation, acting like my suffering was just background noise to her perfect plans. I made my way down the hall slowly, one hand on the wall for balance, the intense ache forcing me to pause every few steps. Vesper, today's the deadline. The doctor said no more than 72 hours, I said, my voice coming out weaker than I wanted as I reached the table. The pain's worse and this dizziness, I think I need to get back to the hospital. Can you drive me, or at least hand over the car keys? She glanced up from her screen, her expression more irritated than worried, and shook her head slightly. Thorn, you're blowing this out of proportion again. I just moved another 1,000 in small transfers from our checking to cover the resort fees, kept it under the daily limits to avoid any fraud alerts popping up. It'll all be worth it once we're relaxing in Hawaii. That's what'll really fix your issues. I gripped the back of a chair, the room spinning a bit from the lack of food and water, trying to steady myself. Small transfers? You're draining everything while I'm falling apart here. I can't access the accounts without your 2FA codes on your phone, and you have the physical cards. How am I supposed to pay for anything, let alone surgery? Vesper closed her laptop with a deliberate snap, standing up to pour herself more coffee. Pay? Thorn, you're just having a panic attack from all the stress. Calling the hospital or wasting money on another visit will only make you look crazy and add to our bills. Sit down and drink some water. Dehydration's probably making it worse. The trip's the real solution. It'll rejuvenate us both. Her words hit me like a slap, the gaslighting fueling a growing rage inside as I lowered myself into the chair, my side throbbing. Panic attack. This isn't in my head, Vesper. The pain's real, the dizziness from not eating, the meds, it's all building up. If we cross this window without surgery, it could be bad. You're refusing to help, just focusing on your bookings. She turned back to me, sipping her coffee with a smirk that showed she was enjoying the upper hand. Refusing? I'm prioritizing wisely, Thorn. I control the online access because you never set up your own logins, always too busy with work. And yes, the 2FAs on my phone makes sense since I'm the one handling things. Feels good to have it sorted, doesn't it? No messy flags from big withdrawals. I felt the anger surge, but the dizziness kept me seated, my vision blurring for a moment as I reached for my phone on the table. If you won't drive me, I'll call a friend or an Uber. Someone has to help. This is getting dangerous. Vesper rolled her eyes, picking up her own phone and stepping toward the living room, her voice casual. A friend? Good luck with that. While you were sleeping in late, I texted a few in the group chat. Mentioned how you're exaggerating your symptoms to dodge the vacation. You know, Thorn's turning a minor ache into a crisis for attention. Practical, right? Keeps them from getting involved in our business. I checked my phone quickly, seeing the messages, some friends replying with laughing emojis, others questioning if I was okay but sounding doubtful, a couple staying silent. You texted that? Turning them against me with half-truths? Not everyone's buying it. Mark asked if I needed anything, and Lisa didn't respond. She came back into the kitchen, leaning against the doorway with a taunting grin, clearly pleased with herself. Half-truths? It's the full picture, Thorn. You're always so dramatic, and now it's ruining our plans. But yeah, not everyone's convinced yet. That just means I need to follow up. See? I've got the control here, and it's working out perfectly for the trip. The resentment boiled deeper, a dark knot forming in my chest as I tried to stand again, the intense pain shooting through me. You're enjoying this power trip, aren't you? Mocking my pain while you hide behind your phone and accounts. But this dizziness, it's from the dehydration, no food, the meds piling on. I need real help, Vesper. Vesper shrugged, turning away to grab her purse from the counter, her tone dripping with contempt. Power trip? I'm just being smart, Thorn. You've always been weak when it counts, leaving the finances to me. If you're that dizzy, maybe lie down instead of fighting me. Calling for help now would just prove you're overreacting. Embarrass yourself if you want, but don't drag me into it. I fumbled with my phone, intending to dial 911 despite her words, but the dizziness hit harder, my fingers trembling as the room spun. I have to call. This is the edge, the pain's peaking. She didn't even turn back, walking into the other room as if I hadn't spoken. Peaking? Sounds like another excuse. Rest up, I'll be in the living room finalizing the itinerary. The vacation's going to fix everything, whether you believe it or not. Left alone in the kitchen, I tried to focus on the screen. But a wave of near blackout washed over me from the combination of extreme pain, empty stomach, and dehydration, my head dropping to the table for a moment. When I came to a few seconds later, still groggy, Vesper was humming to herself in the next room, ignoring any sounds I made. I attempted to stand and follow her, to demand the keys again, but weakness pinned me down, the resentment hardening into something unbreakable. As the hours ticked past the 72-hour mark, the pain reached an unbearable level. Dizziness constant now, leaving me slumped at the table. Financially locked out with no access to cards or accounts, no car keys in sight since she'd tucked them away. And friends divided or silent from her discreet smears, I was utterly isolated. Trapped in this house with no way out, unless something drastic happened soon. I knew I wouldn't make it through without a rupture or worse. The abyss staring back as Vesper continued her plans, deluded that she was right all along. The dizziness from that near blackout at the kitchen table lingered into the evening. But I couldn't just sit there as the 72-hour window officially slipped away. My hernia pain now a constant, throbbing reminder that things were heading south fast. I forced down some water and a piece of toast to fight the dehydration and empty stomach, hoping it would steady me enough to get through a short work shift the next morning. Bills were piling up, and with Vesper's small transfers chipping away at our checking account, I had no choice but to show up. Vesper was in the living room, scrolling through her phone for more vacation upgrades, barely glancing up as I mumbled about heading to bed early. "Fine, Thorne, but don't come crying if you make it worse," she said, her tone dismissive. "Today's the final deposit deadline for the full package. We leave next week. So I just cleared the last few hundred from checking. Non-refundable, all set." I nodded weakly, retreating to the bedroom where the pain kept me tossing most of the night. But by early morning, I dragged myself out, spotting the car keys on the counter where she'd left them after her coffee. The drive to the site was rough, my vision blurring at stoplights from the lingering effects of the meds and lack of solid food. But I made it, parking and walking in slowly as my coworkers eyed me with concern. "You sure you're up for this, Thorne?" my foreman asked, assigning me to inventory checks instead of heavy stuff. "Take breaks if needed. We don't want you dropping here." I started sorting supplies, each twist sending sharp jolts through my gut, but I pushed on, sweat soaking my shirt as the hours ticked by. About midway through the morning, as I bent to count some rebar, a sudden tearing sensation exploded in my side like fabric ripping inside me, dropping me to the ground with a yell that echoed across the site. I clutched my abdomen, curling up as waves of agony hit, my breathing shallow and ragged. "Call 911 feels like it tore," I gasped to the guys rushing over, one already on his phone while another helped me stay still. The ambulance arrived quick, paramedics loading me up and starting an IV for fluids and pain control. Their voices calm but urgent. "Mr. Thorne, we're getting you to the ER. Sounds like your hernia might be incarcerated," one said, checking my vitals. "Hang in there. We'll have you stabilized soon." At the hospital, it was a rush of tests and scans, the doctor confirming the worst after reviewing everything. "You've got a strangulated hernia with bowel obstruction," he explained, prepping the team. "Concern for bowel compromise? We're taking you to surgery now to fix this. Billing can wait until you're stable." I lay there on the gurney, the monitors beeping as they wheeled me toward the OR, my mind racing to Vesper. "Call my wife," I told a nurse, giving her the number. "She needs to know, maybe handle the insurance stuff." The nurse nodded, stepping away to make the call while they got me ready. The anesthesia starting to flow as the lights blurred above me. Waking up in recovery felt like emerging from a fog, my side bandaged and sore, but the sharp pain dulled by post-op meds. Tubes and monitors still attached. A nurse checked on me, adjusting the IV. "Surgery went well, Mr. Thorne. You're stable now. The surgeon relieved the strangulation and repaired the hernia. Rest easy. We'll move you to a room soon." I managed a nod, asking about Vesper, and she said my wife had been notified but hadn't arrived yet. About an hour later, as I was settling into a regular room, Vesper finally showed up, walking in with her coat still on, looking more put out by the interruption than scared for me. "Thorne, what happened? Your coworker called too, said you collapsed at work," she said, standing at the foot of the bed without sitting. I was in the middle of finalizing those vacation payments. I shifted slightly, wincing at the pull. "The hernia strangulated, bowel was obstructed. They had to operate emergency. It was bad, Vesper. Where were you?" She sighed, pulling out her phone to check something. "Bad? You weren't careful, were you? Pushing through work like that after I told you to relax? Now look, surgery and all. A nurse mentioned billing. What's the damage?" Before I could answer, a financial counselor from the hospital knocked and entered, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Thorne, Mrs. Thorne, I'm here to discuss your financial responsibilities. With your high deductible plan, you'll have significant out-of-pocket costs. We're estimating several thousand upfront, plus more depending on length of stay. We can set up a payment plan or apply for assistance, but we need some arrangement before discharge." I looked at Vesper, hoping she'd step up. "We had savings 15 grand. But you've been making those small transfers for the vacation deposits, right? Can we use what's left for this?" Vesper crossed her arms, shaking her head. "What's left? I cleared most of it this morning for the final non-refundable payments, flights, hotel, excursions, multiple small debits to keep under the radar, and they've all posted. The trip's locked in for next week. How do you expect me to cover this now? It's your fault for not listening and letting it get this far." The counselor glanced between us, her expression neutral. "We understand situations like this. Perhaps a credit card or family loan? Without a plan, it could go to collections after billing. I felt my face heat up, the humiliation sinking in as I lay there in the hospital gown, hooked to machines. Vesper, please, this is serious. The surgery saved my life, but the debt, we can cancel the trip, get refunds if possible, help me here. She rolled her eyes, tapping her foot. Cancel? After all the planning? No, Thorne. You got yourself into this by ignoring my advice. The funds are committed, debits cleared, no turning back. Figure out the bills yourself. Maybe ask work for an advance. I'm not ruining our vacation over your carelessness. She leaned in a bit, her voice lower. See, your weakness cornered us again. I have to go. Pre-vacation shopping won't do itself. The counselor cleared her throat. Mrs. Thorne, if you could sign here for the payment plan discussion. Vesper waved it off, heading for the door. Not now. Send it to him. Thorne, recover quick. We need you for the trip. She left without another word, the door clicking shut behind her. I stared at the ceiling. The nurse coming back in to adjust my pain meds as I begged for a stronger dose to numb the ache and the shame. Anything to help, I whispered, feeling utterly alone. The threat of medical debt looming like a storm while Vesper shopped carefree. My phone buzzed later with her text. Picked up sunscreen and a hat, excited for next week. Hope the hospital isn't too boring. The oppression hit its lowest point, cornered in this bed with no buffer, no support. The burning need rising inside me to find a way out of her grip before it destroyed me completely. Lying in that hospital bed after the surgery, with the monitors beeping softly around me and the dull ache in my side, reminding me of how close. I'd come to something worse. I stared at Vesper's text about her new sunscreen and hat. It hit me like a brick, years of busting my back in construction, handing over every paycheck while she splurged on whatever caught her eye. And now this, abandoning me to a mountain of debt for her selfish getaway. The emotional toll weighed heavier than the physical recovery, pushing me to a breaking point where I knew I couldn't take her abuse anymore. I had to fight back, safeguard what was left of my life, before she stripped away everything I'd worked for. A couple days later, once the doctors cleared me for discharge with instructions to take it easy, no heavy lifting, plenty of rest, I headed home in a cab paid for by my insurance's transport voucher. The billing stack clutched in my lap like a ticking bomb. Vesper met me at the door, her arms crossed, looking more annoyed than relieved. Thorne, you're back, she said, stepping aside to let me in. The hospital called about the bills earlier. I told them we'd handle it later. I've been busy with the final vacation touches. Next week's coming fast. I eased onto the couch, wincing as I sat, the post-op soreness flaring up. Handle it? Vesper, the financial counselor said we need a payment plan soon, or it'll go to collections. That's over 10 grand out of pocket. What about the savings? You said you cleared the last deposits, but there must be something left. She laughed shortly, heading to the kitchen to pour herself a drink. Something left? I managed those small transfers perfectly that kept them under the limits. All cleared now for the non-refundable stuff. Flights, hotel, excursions, it's all set. You pushed yourself at work and caused this mess. Figure out the debt, maybe ask your boss for overtime once you're up. This trip's my reward for keeping things together. Her words stung, that smug tone making my blood boil as I watched her sip her water like everything was fine. Your reward? I've been the one earning it all, Vesper. Now I'm laid up, and you're acting like the vacation fixes everything. She set her glass down, turning with a grin. It will fix us, Thorne. Relax, you're home now. I'll make dinner light since you're recovering. Pasta sound good? I nodded, pretending to rest my eyes, but my mind raced. Later that evening, after she went to bed early, claiming she needed beauty sleep for the trip, I shuffled to the study where she kept her laptop. I couldn't access it without her password, but I remembered how she'd always intercepted the mail, saying she'd handle the bills. I quietly opened the desk drawer, finding a stack of unopened envelopes she'd tucked away. Bank letters addressed to both of us, ones she'd hidden to keep me in the dark. My heart pounded as I slit one open carefully, scanning the credit card statement from a card I didn't even know existed in her name, linked to our joint accounts somehow. It showed concealed spending, thousands on jewelry, spa days, even cash advances timed right after my paydays. She's been hiding this, I whispered to myself, the betrayal hitting fresh. I snapped quick photos with my phone, making sure to capture the dates and amounts, then slipped everything back exactly as I'd found it. This was incomplete, just a start, but it proved she was dissipating our marital assets behind my back. The next morning, with Vesper out running errands for more vacation gear, a coworker named Jax dropped by with a get-well card from the crew and an envelope of cash they had collected, about $500 for basics like meds or groceries. Thorne, we heard about the strangulation and surgery, he said, sitting across from me in the living room. Scary stuff. This should help with incidentals. How's everything else? Bills piling up? I took the envelope, grateful for the support. Yeah, Jax, it's rough. Vesper's not helping, says the money's all committed to her trip. I don't know how to dig out. He leaned forward, his face serious. That's not right, man. My sister's ex pulled similar crap financial control. She talked to a lawyer first thing. Maybe start there. Use some of this cash for an initial consult if you need. His suggestion clicked, solidifying the resolve that had been building since her hospital visit. A lawyer? Good idea. Got a recommendation? Jax pulled out his phone. My cousin Riley handles divorces, knows about stuff like hidden spending. Here's her number. Call her. First chat's usually free or cheap. After Jax left, I sat there with my phone, the photos of those statements staring back at me. I couldn't wait any longer. This was financial abuse. Coercive control over our money while I suffered. I dialed Riley's number, my voice steady despite the soreness. Hello, Riley speaking, she answered promptly. Hi, this is Thorne, Jax referred me. I need advice on a divorce situation, I said, keeping it low in case Vesper came back early. I explained the basics, the delayed surgery, the drained savings for her vacation, the hospital debt. And I found some hidden statements showing concealed spending from our joint funds. Riley listened carefully, then responded. Sounds like dissipation of marital assets, Thorne, possibly financial abuse. We could seek a temporary court order to prevent further spending from joint accounts, but I'd need to review documents. Can we do a video consult tomorrow? Send me photos of what you have via secure email. No charge for the initial talk. Video works, I'm still recovering. Can't drive yet, I told her, relieved at the option. I'll email the photos now. We set the time, and I hung up, forwarding the statement images right away. It wasn't a full retainer yet. That had come later once we discussed fees, but this was the start. My decision to strike back locked in. That afternoon, Vesper came home loaded with bags, unpacking in the kitchen with that overconfident smile. Thorne, look at these sandals, perfect for the beach walks next week, she said, holding them up. Everything's coming together so well. How you feeling? Ready to pack your stuff soon? I forced a neutral expression, leaning against the counter. Still sore, but managing. Those look nice. Trip's all paid up, huh? She nodded proudly, folding a towel into her suitcase nearby. Fully committed, small debits cleared, no turning back. I handled it all with the apps and 2FA on my phone. Smart, right? We'll relax, forget this hospital nonsense. Her boasting grated, but I stayed silent, nodding along as she rambled about itineraries. Yeah, sounds good, I said, excusing myself to rest. Inside, the frustration at her smugness burned, but I kept it hidden. No hints that I knew about her hidden spending or that I'd contacted Riley. This was my secret for now, the awakening fueling me to prepare quietly, turning the tables without her suspecting a thing. The video consult with Riley the next day sealed it. She reviewed the photos, confirming we had grounds. These show concealed dissipation, she said over the screen. We'll build from here, but stay quiet, no confrontations yet. Retainer can wait until you're mobile. This initial chat's on me. I agreed, ending the call with a plan forming. Vesper was still triumphant, believing she'd won, but my resolve hardened. I'd gather more. Strike back soon and end this nightmare. A few days after that video consult with Riley, I sat in the living room with my phone, scrolling through my personal email inbox while Vesper was out grabbing lunch for us. She'd been so focused on her vacation packing that she hadn't noticed me getting more alert, my recovery letting me move around the house without much help. I pulled up old bank notifications I'd registered to this email years ago. Back when I set it up as a backup because my work one got too cluttered with site updates. There they were, alerts about account activity, including several small transfers she'd made to her personal shopping sites, ones I hadn't paid attention to before the surgery mess. I forwarded those emails straight to Riley's secure address, adding notes on how they matched the dates of my overtime deposits vanishing. Thorne, I'm back, Vesper called from the door, bags rustling as she walked in with takeout. I switched to a news app quick, looking up as she set the food on the table. Got your favorite sandwich, light on the mayo since you're recovering. Trips next week. I added some excursion fees with a small debit this morning. Kept it under the limits with my 2FA phone setup, no issues. I nodded, taking the bag. Thanks, Vesper. Smells good. Any mail come while you were out? She shook her head, unpacking her own food. Checked earlier. Nothing big. I've got the online statements handled anyway. Eat up. I need to pack more after this. As she sat down, I waited until she stepped to the kitchen for drinks, then slipped outside quietly to double-check the mailbox myself before she could. Sure enough, a bank envelope had arrived late, probably after her morning glance. A credit statement I'd requested online last week, but forgotten about. I snapped photos of the pages inside, showing high utilization on that hidden card, nearly maxed with charges for her spas and jewelry, funneled through small transfers from our joint checking. I tucked it back and returned inside, just as she came back with waters. "Everything okay out there?" she asked, handing me a glass. I sat down smoothly. "Yeah, just fresh air. This sandwich hits the spot." We ate, her chatting about the beaches again. I've planned it all so smart with the apps and cards in my control. No hiccups. "You'll love unwinding there after your drama." Her smug words pushed me harder, but I kept cool, finishing lunch and excusing myself to rest. Once alone in the bedroom, I texted Jax, "Need those witness statements. Specifics on what Vesper said at the barbecue." He replied fast, "Got 2 from coworkers who were there, mutual friends too. She called your hernia attention-seeking drama and laughed that you were milking it to skip. Work, emailing PDFs now." I opened the attachments on my phone, signed statements from Mike and Dave, both site guys who'd overheard her mocking my pain to the group, saying I was exaggerating for sympathy while I winced in the corner. Those added weight, showing her smear campaign in black and white. That afternoon, with Vesper napping off her lunch, I hopped on the scheduled video call with Ellis, the financial advisor Jax had introduced. "Thorne, I reviewed the photos you sent," Ellis said, his screen sharing a summary. "With your permission, I pulled a credit report, standard soft inquiry, no impact. It confirms high utilization on that card, over 90%, with patterns of cash advances transferred onward from joint accounts to cover her personal charges. No exact balances without full access, but this suggests concealed dissipation. We can recommend formal discovery through your lawyer to confirm." I leaned in, the info hitting like a quiet win. "Over 90%? She never mentioned debt that bad." Ellis nodded, emailing the report. "Common in these cases, coercive control hiding the full picture. This report strengthens your position. Share it with Riley for a temporary court order petition." Jax, on the call too, added, "See, this tips things your way without her knowing." I thanked them, ending just before Vesper stirred. She walked in later, stretching. "Thorne, help me pick outfits for the dinners. Everything's set, small transfers all cleared. Trip's unbreakable." I joined her in the closet, nodding at her choices while my phone buzzed with the report saved. "Those look great. You've got it all figured out." Inside, the balance shifted with that credit insight, an accidental fine turning the tide subtly in my favor. "No worries on my end," she said, folding a dress. "I've handled the finances perfectly." That evening, as she watched TV, I forwarded the witness PDFs and Ellis's report to Riley from the bathroom, keeping it silent. "More pieces, pattern of abuse clear now," I typed. Riley replied quick, "Excellent. This quietly shifts power to you. Keep gathering without a word to her." Vesper called from the couch, "Thorne, come watch this travel show getting ideas for Hawaii." I sat down, smiling along. Sounds fun. The evidence file was shaping up, bank alerts, photos, statements, report, all ready. The scales tipping for the first time as I prepared in the shadows. A week into my recovery at home, with the tenderness from the surgery fading enough that I could get around the house without needing to lean on furniture every few steps. I checked my phone for Riley's update while Vesper bustled in the kitchen making coffee. She'd been on a high all morning, talking about final touches for the trip next week, completely oblivious to the motion Riley had filed the day before. An emergency temporary restraining order to prevent further dissipation of our marital assets. "We'll know soon if the judge signs it," Riley had texted last night. "Pray, if approved, the bank will place a legal hold on the joint accounts upon receiving the order. Could be by end of day or early tomorrow." I kept my expression neutral as Vesper called out, "Thorne, coffee's ready. Come grab it black like you like." I walked in slowly, taking the mug from her hand. "Thanks, Vesper. Smells strong. How's the day looking for you?" She stirred her own cup, leaning against the counter with that familiar smug smile. "Busy, got a few last-minute online buys for Hawaii. Small charge to the joint debit card, nothing big. With my 2FA on the phone, it's seamless. Can't wait to lounge on those beaches. It'll be our reset after all this hospital fuss." I sipped my coffee, nodding along. Reset sounds good. But the hospital called again about the payment plan. Said we need to start soon or it heads to collections. She set her mug down, waving it off casually. "Collections? We'll sort it post-trip. I've got the finances handled. No need to fret during your recovery. Maybe tap your work buddies for a loan if it's pressing. You're the provider, right?" Her tone dismissed it all, like my health scare was just an inconvenience. But I stayed calm, stirring my coffee. "If you say so, pass the sugar?" She handed it over, chattering more. "Trust me, Thorne. This vacation's locked in, non-refundable magic. I'll handle any glitches." After breakfast, she grabbed her purse for a quick run to the store. "Need anything?" "Back in an hour, maybe pick up travel snacks." I shook my head, watching her leave from the window. Once her car disappeared down the street, I texted Riley, She's out. Any word on the motion? Riley replied almost immediately. Judge signed the emergency TRO this morning. Bank's been notified. Legal hold should kick in soon. You'll get electronic confirmation shortly. Stay vague if she notices. I saved the incoming PDF notice to my phone. The order clear. Temporary restraint on all joint accounts and linked cards pending review. No transactions without court approval. By midday, Vesper came back with bags of nuts and dried fruit, unpacking them on the counter. Thorn, these are perfect for the flight. Tried charging a couple extras online while out, but the joint debit card glitched. Said insufficient funds or something. Weird, since I checked the balance yesterday. I stood in the doorway, keeping my voice even. Glitched? That's odd. Maybe try again. She pulled out her phone, tapping the banking app. Her brow creasing as she attempted a small transfer for some resort add-on. Still not going through, says account restricted pending review. Must be a system error. I'll call the bank later. No big deal. The main trip payments cleared fine before this. I poured myself more coffee, watching her try the app once more. Restricted? Could be a fraud thing with all those small debits lately. Vesper set her phone down, crossing her arms. Her confidence still there, but a hint of confusion slipping in. Fraud? No, I've been careful with the physical cards and online access. Probably temporary. Banks do that sometimes. Don't worry, I'll fix it after lunch. We sat down to eat the salads she'd brought, her chatting about excursion plans. But I noticed her glance at her phone more often, the unease starting to show in how she fidgeted with her fork. That afternoon, as we cleared the dishes, she dialed the bank's customer service, putting it on speaker while rinsing plates. Hi, this is Vesper Thorn. My joint account's showing restricted. What's the issue? The rep's voice was professional, neutral. Ma'am, there's a legal hold on the account. We can't discuss details over the phone. Please refer to any notice you've received or speak with your attorney. Vesper's hand paused under the water, her face shifting from confusion to a flicker of panic. Legal hold? That can't be right. Must be a mistake. No notice here. The rep repeated calmly. No mistake, ma'am. The hold is in place pending review. Any further questions? Consult legal counsel. She hung up, turning to me with wide eyes. Thorn, did you hear that? Legal hold? What's going on? I dried a plate slowly, staying composed. Sounds serious. Maybe something with the bills or assets. Or perhaps a court thing. Her voice rose a notch, denial kicking in as she paced the kitchen. Court? Ridiculous. This timing's off. If it's fraud, they'll sort it. The trip's safe. Payments went through earlier. But she grabbed her laptop from the counter, logging into her email with quick taps. Checking spam? Wait, there's an electronic notice here. Temporary restraining order. For dissipation. Thorn, this can't be happening. Do you know anything about this? I set the plate down, meeting her gaze steadily. Maybe it's related to how the money's been moving. Small transfers, hidden stuff could catch up. Vesper's face flushed, anger bubbling under the panic as she slammed the laptop shut. Hidden? What are you implying? I've managed everything for us. This must be a bank screw-up. I'll call a lawyer friend tomorrow. Get it lifted. You're acting too calm about this. She tried the app again, muttering. Still restricted. Damn, that blocks my spa booking for the resort. No, it'll resolve. Has to be a glitch. I watched her fret, the panic deepening as she dialed the salon from earlier. Hi, did my charge go through? Declined. But it was fine before... Okay, thanks. She hung up, rubbing her temples, the denial cracking. This isn't right. If someone's behind it, they'll regret messing with our plans. I shrugged lightly, heading to the living room. We'll see. Maybe rest. Sounds stressful. Vesper followed, pointing at me. Stressful? If you had something to do with this, spill it now. But no, you're too laid back for schemes. Her words carried anger, but the unease in her eyes showed the control slipping away for the first time. That evening, over a simple dinner of pasta, she kept checking her phone, trying transfers that failed each time. Still held. This ruins everything if it sticks. I ate quietly, hinting vaguely. Ruins? Thought you had it all under control. She glared across the table, her confidence fraying. I did. This is temporary. I'll fight it. But the timing, suspicious. I finished my meal, standing to clear. Maybe. Good night, Vesper. Hope it sorts out. Be-yod. As I walked away, I heard her muttering to herself, dialing numbers late into the night. Her panic echoing through the house. The scales were shifting, my first counterblow landing solid, leaving her scrambling without grasping the full why yet. The morning after that first counterblow with the account freeze, I woke up to the sound of Vesper on the phone in the kitchen, her voice sharp and frustrated as she argued with someone about the legal hold. I lay there for a minute, listening through the cracked door. My side still a bit sore from the surgery, but nothing like before. She'd been up late last night, pacing and muttering, and now she was trying to fix it. Probably calling a lawyer or the bank again. This is ridiculous, she snapped into the receiver. There must be a way to lift this hold. It's blocking everything. No, I don't have the full notice details yet, but my husband… Never mind. Send me the paperwork. She hung up with a huff, slamming the phone on the counter. I got up slowly, pulling on a shirt and heading out to the kitchen, acting like I hadn't heard a thing. Vesper turned when she saw me, her hair messy from lack of sleep, her eyes narrowed. Thorne, good, you're up. That hold's still on. Bank says it's legal, pending review. Did you get any emails about this? Because if this is some mix-up with your hospital bills, we need to clear it now. I poured myself a glass of water, taking a sip before answering. Emails? Not that I've seen, but maybe it's more than a mix-up. Could be about how the money's been handled lately, all those small transfers you made. She crossed her arms, leaning against the fridge. Handled? I handled it fine for us. This has to be an error, perhaps identity theft or something. I'll get a lawyer on it today. Lift the TRO or whatever they called it. The trip's next week. Can't have this ruining plans. I set my glass down, looking her straight in the eye. Ruining plans? Like how you ruined my chance at surgery on time? Maybe this is karma catching up? Vesper. All that hidden spending, prioritizing your luxuries over my health. Her face twisted in confusion, then anger. Karma? Hidden? You're talking nonsense. I've been smart with the 2FA and cards, no hiding. If you're implying I did something wrong, prove it. This hold won't stick. I'll deny any mistake. I felt the moment building, the evidence I'd gathered with Riley burning a hole in my phone. But I held back, letting her stew. Prove it? Maybe I don't need to yet. But our family gathering tonight, Mom and Dad coming over for dinner, might be a good time to chat about finances. Vesper laughed sharply, grabbing her coffee mug. Family? Oh, please. They'll side with me. I've always been the one keeping things together while you worked those dirty jobs. Don't try scaring me, Thorne. This is just a bump. I'll have it sorted by tomorrow. She stormed off to the bedroom, slamming the door, but I saw the worry in her eyes, the facade starting to crack. The rest of the day dragged, Vesper avoiding me as she packed more for the trip, muttering about resort bookings. I texted Riley discreetly, family dinner tonight. Good time to expose, she replied quick. If you're ready, yes. Bring printed docs from the evidence file. Keep it factual. Let the papers do the talking. I printed out the key pieces in the study while Vesper was in the shower. The hidden credit card statements showing over 90% utilization, the bank alerts on those funneled transfers, Ellis's report on the dissipation pattern, and the witness statements from Mike and Dave about her calling my pain attention-seeking drama at the barbecue. I tucked them into a folder, hiding it in my drawer until evening. When my parents arrived for dinner, the house smelled like the roast Vesper had thrown together, trying to play the perfect hostess. Mom, Dad, so glad you could come, she said, hugging them at the door with her best smile. Thorne's recovering well. Surgery was a success thanks to the doctors. My mom patted my arm as she sat down. We're relieved, son. That hernia sounded awful. How are you feeling now? I nodded, helping set the table. Better every day, Mom. But there's some stuff we need to talk about tonight, family finances and all. Vesper shot me a look from the kitchen, but kept smiling. Oh, nothing major, just the usual. Dinner's almost ready! We sat down to eat, the roast steaming on plates, conversation light at first. Dad asking about my work, Mom complimenting Vesper's cooking. This is delicious, dear, Mom said, forking a bite. You've always been so good at pulling things together. Vesper beamed, sipping her wine. Thanks, Mom. It's all about planning, like our Hawaii trip next week. Everything's set, non-refundable paradise. I waited until we'd eaten most of the meal, then cleared my throat. Actually, about planning and money, there's something you all should know. Vesper's been handling our finances, but not in the way you think. Vesper's fork paused midway to her mouth, her eyes widening. Thorne, what are you doing? This is family dinner, not the time for… I pulled the folder from under my chair, where I'd stashed it earlier, opening it on the table. It's exactly the time. Look at these. Bank statements showing small transfers from our joint savings to her hidden credit card. Maxed out over 90% on spas and jewelry while I waited for surgery. My dad leaned forward, peering at the papers. Hidden card? Vesper, is this true? She pushed her plate away, her voice rising. Those are old misunderstandings. I was investing in us, not hiding. Thorne's exaggerating to make me look bad. I slid over Ellis's report next. Not exaggerating. This financial advisor traced the funneled transfers. Money I earned vanishing into her personal stuff. Prioritizing vacations over my life-saving operation. And these witness statements from Mike and Dave at the barbecue, where you mocked my pain as attention-seeking drama and milking it for sympathy. Mom gasped, covering her mouth. Vesper, you said that while he was hurting? Vesper snatched a statement, scanning it. They misheard. I was joking. This is all twisted. Thorne, how did you get this, spying on me? Dad shook his head, looking at the credit report. Doesn't look like a joke, dear. This shows dissipation, wasting shared money. Why prioritize a trip over his health? Vesper stood up, her chair scraping back. Dissipation? It's our money. I managed it for our future. The surgery could wait. The vacation was for stress relief. You all believe this nonsense? It's his word against mine. I spread out the bank alerts next. Not just my word. These emails show the pattern. Alerts I got on my personal account about unusual activity you dismissed. Mom reached for Vesper's hand, but she pulled away. Honey, this looks bad. Did you really block his surgery funds? Vesper's face reddened, tears welling but anger flashing. Block? I decided what was best. He collapsed because he pushed too hard at work, not me. These documents are faked or something, I'll prove it. Dad sighed, stacking the papers. They look real, Vesper. If this is true, it's financial abuse. Thorne, how long has this been going on? I leaned back, letting the evidence speak. Years, Dad. But it peaked with the hernia. She drained 15 grand for Hawaii while I risked rupture. Vesper paced behind her chair, denying louder. Abuse? That's extreme. I was protecting our dreams. The credit card was for emergencies, high utilization because of his medical bills, not me. And those witnesses? Biased friends of his. This exposure is unfair. You're all ganging up. Mom stood, hugging me gently. We're not ganging, we're family. If you prioritized luxury over his life, that's wrong. Vesper stopped pacing, pointing at the folder. Wrong. I'll get my own proof, emails, logs. This won't stand in court or anywhere. But her voice cracked, the facade shattering as the lies unraveled in front of everyone. Dad nodded at me. Son, this explains the strain we've seen. What now? I closed the folder. Divorce filing soon, with this as evidence. Just wanted family to know the truth first. Vesper sank back into her chair, burying her face in her hands. Truth? You'll regret this, Thorne. I deny it all. It's not what it looks like. But the documents lay there, speaking louder than her words. The exposure hitting home as Mom comforted her while shooting me a sad look. We believe the papers, dear. This changes things, Vesper whispered through tears. It can't. I planned everything perfectly. The satisfaction washed over me, watching her perfect world crack publicly, the truth finally out. As dinner wrapped up awkwardly, my parents leaving with hugs and promises to support me, Vesper retreated to the bedroom, slamming the door again. This isn't over, she called through it. I'll fight every bit. I cleaned up alone, the folder safe in my hands, knowing the unraveling had just begun. The days after that family dinner felt like a storm building inside the house. With Vesper slamming doors and making frantic calls to lawyers she knew from her old job, trying to figure out how to lift the temporary restraining order on our joint accounts. I kept my routine simple, resting on the couch with my pain meds nearby, watching her pace the living room like a caged animal. Her smug confidence from before, now replaced with sharp glares and muttered threats. She'd denied everything to my parents, calling the documents twisted lies. But I saw how it shook her, especially when Mom texted me later saying they believed me and were worried about her choices. Thorne, we need to talk about this, Vesper said one morning. Bursting into the bedroom, where I was getting dressed, her phone clutched in her hand like a weapon. That tro, it's killing the last bits of our plans. The resort called. A final add-on payment bounced because of the hold. How do I fix this if you won't tell me what evidence you think you have? I buttoned my shirt slowly, feeling the pull in my side but ignoring it, looking at her in the mirror. Fix it? Vesper, maybe it's not fixable. You've been resisting since the start, denying the hidden credit card charges, the way you funneled money from our joint checking to your personal stuff. But the truth's out now. The family's seen it. She stepped closer, her voice rising. Truth? Those statements are old news. I used that card for us. For emergencies like my spa days to de-stress from your complaints. And the witnesses? Mike and Dave are your work buddies. They're biased. I'll get my own statements to counter this. Call Riley or whoever. Tell them to drop it. I turned to face her, keeping my tone steady. Drop it? No, Vesper. I've got more than that. The bank alerts I forwarded, showing every small transfer you made while I begged for surgery money. Ellis's report traces it all. Over 90% utilization on that card, cash advances you hid. It's irrefutable proof of financial abuse. Her eyes widened, and she snatched at my arm. Ellis, who's that? You've been spying with some advisor? Give me those reports. I'll shred them if I have to. This is our marriage. You can't sue me over a vacation. I pulled away gently, heading to the study where I'd locked the folder. Shred them? That won't stop the court filings. I'm filing for divorce today, suing for compensation, the misused funds, the emotional distress from delaying my operation. Vesper followed me, her face flushing red as she banged on the study door after I closed it. Divorce? Compensation? You're bluffing again, Thorne. Open up. Show me everything. Those witnesses lied. I never mocked you that bad. It was just talk at the barbecue. I opened the door a crack, holding out copies of the witness statements. Just talk? Mike wrote you said my pain was attention-seeking drama, laughing while I winced in the corner. Dave heard you call it milking it for sympathy to the group. That's not talk. That's cruelty. She grabbed the papers, scanning them fast, her hands shaking. They twisted my words I was venting. And the credit report? That utilization's from your hospital bills, not me. I'll counter with my own logs, show the transfers were for our future. I stepped out, facing her in the hallway, the folder in my hand now. Your future, maybe. But the advisor traced how you routed money from joint savings through checking to pay off your personal charges, thousands on jewelry and spas while I collapsed at work. The court seeing all of it in the filings. Vesper tore the statements in half, throwing them at my feet. Traced? You had someone dig into my private accounts? That's invasion. I'll sue you back for that. Our mutual friends will side with me. I'll call Lisa and Mark. Tell them you're the one exaggerating now. She pulled out her phone, dialing fast, but I held up the full report. Go ahead, call them. But I've got more witnesses. Jax from work saw you dismiss my follow-ups as upsells. And the medical bills here prove you prioritized vacations over life-saving surgery. Her call went to voicemail, and she hung up, turning back to me with desperation in her eyes. Jax, he's your buddy too. This is a setup, all biased. The bills? Surgery could wait. The trip was for our marriage health. Drop this, Thorne. We can fix it without court. I shook my head, walking to the living room with her trailing. Fix it? No, Vesper. The truth's emerging. The way you spread lies to friends that I was faking for attention, turning them against me. But I've countered with the real story now. She sank onto the couch, rubbing her forehead. Lies? I was protecting us from your drama. If you file, I'll manipulate the narrative, tell everyone you're the abuser. Controlling the money story. Our shared circle will believe me. I've always been the charming one. I sat across from her, laying the folder on the table. Charming? Maybe once. But the irrefutable proof's here. Medical records showing the 72-hour window you ignored. Transaction logs of every debit while I suffered blackouts. The court's getting it all, exposing your deceit in the filings. Vesper lunged for the folder, but I pulled it back. Deceit? It was decisions for us. Give me that, I'll burn it if I have to. And those mutual friends, I'll call them now. Spin it as your revenge for the hernia rupture being your fault. She dialed Lisa, putting it on speaker. Lisa, hey, Thorne's going crazy filing divorce over nothing. You remember how he exaggerated his pain? Help me talk sense into him. Lisa's voice came through hesitant. Vesper, we talked after the family dinner. Those documents Thorne showed, they look real. The mockery, the spending, it's concerning. Maybe you two need counseling, but I'm not getting in the middle. Vesper's face fell, and she hung up, turning to me. See? She's confused, but I'll clarify. Mark next, he'll back me. She dialed again, but Mark's response was similar. Vesper, the witnesses are our friends too. If you said those things about his illness, that's harsh. And the money trail? Sounds like you prioritized wrong. Sorry, but Thorne's got a point. Vesper slammed the phone down, tears streaming now. They're turning because of your lies? I'll find more allies, post online if I have to. Manipulate the story. I stood up, the climax building as I opened the folder one last time. Post? That'll just expose you more. Armed with this, bills, logs, reports, I'm filing today. The truth fully emerges now. Your control's slipping for good. Vesper jumped up, grabbing at the papers. No, Thorne! Resist this. I'll deny everything in court. Say you forged it all. But deep down, you know the trip was for us. I stepped back, closing the folder. For you, maybe. But the witnesses counter your spin. The evidence speaks louder. Your downfall's set. You realize it now, don't you? She collapsed back onto the couch, sobbing. Realize this can't be. I've lost them. The accounts, the friends. But I'll fight desperately with everything. Her words hung heavy, the setup complete as I walked away, ready for the final judgment. The weeks after that full card reveal turned the house into a war zone of silence and slammed doors. Vesper hauling boxes to the guest room while shooting me dagger looks every time we crossed paths. She'd lawyered up with some budget attorney she found online, scraping together the retainer from whatever was left on her personal credit card before it hit its limit, filing motions to lift the temporary restraining order and counterclaiming that I was the one, manipulating the finances to trap her in debt. You'll regret this, Thorne. Ma, she snarled one evening as she packed her resort clothes into a suitcase, the vacation deadline looming next week like a bad joke. My lawyer's going to expose your so-called evidence as biased trash, The witnesses are your work friends, the report's just numbers twisted to fit your story. That credit utilization? From joint expenses, not my hidden spending. I'll walk out of court with half the assets and spousal support to boot. I stood in the doorway, keeping my voice level as I folded laundry on the bed. Half? After draining 15 grand on a trip while I begged for surgery money? Good luck. Convincing the judge, Vesper. Riley's got affidavits now from Lisa and Mark. Sworn after they reviewed everything following our last talk. They confirmed the mockery, the transfers, said it was too much to ignore. She zipped the suitcase hard, her hands shaking slightly. Affidavits? Those traitors, they'll flip when I explain. It was for our marriage, to fix the stress causing your hernia in the first place. You ruptured at work? Your fault for pushing? Drop this now, Thorne. We can settle out of court. I'll even cancel the trip if you unfreeze the accounts. I shook my head, stacking shirts neatly. Cancel? Too late for that. The hearing's in a few days. Truth comes out then. She stormed past me to the hall closet, grabbing more boxes. Truth? Your version. My attorney will shred Riley's case, say you forged the logs, bias the witnesses. I'll get alimony. You owe me for all the years I managed everything. I followed her to the living room, watching her tape a box shut. Managed? Like ignoring the 72-hour window, letting me risk strangulation? No, Vesper. The evidence stands, bank alerts, medical records, Ellis's trace on those funneled transfers. You're the one who chose selfishness. The hearing hit like a freight train in that packed family courtroom. My parents in the gallery behind me, offering quiet nods as Riley laid out our case with the judge poring over the thick binder of filings. Vesper sat rigid next to her jittery lawyer, her eyes darting to me every few seconds. The vacation date now just days away, but her bag still unpacked at home. Your Honor, Riley started, gesturing to the projected statements on the screen. The evidence establishes financial abuse and dissipation of marital assets. Mrs. Thorne diverted over $15,000 from joint savings to non-refundable vacation expenses, while Mr. Thorne pleaded to use it for urgent hernia surgery. Medical records confirm the delayed procedure led to a strangulated rupture. Witness affidavits detail her dismissal of his pain as attention-seeking drama. And the financial report traces transfers from joint checking to her hidden credit card, with over 90% utilization on personal luxuries. Vesper's lawyer stood, papers rustling. Your Honor, objection, this is circumstantial. My client managed finances jointly. The vacation was intended as marital therapy. The debt stems from shared obligations, not dissipation. We request equal division and spousal support. The judge adjusted his glasses, flipping pages. Overruled. The transaction logs show clear routing from marital funds to her personal charges. Affidavits from mutual friends, Lisa and Mark, corroborate the mockery and support Mr. Thorne's claims after independent review. Mrs. Thorne, your response? Vesper rose, her voice cracking but defiant. Your Honor, those statements are misinterpreted. I planned the trip to relieve our stress, fix his issues. The credit card was for emergencies, high utilization from his medical costs, not me. The witnesses are biased, his co-workers twisting casual talk. I deny any abuse, it was joint decisions. Award me half the assets and support. I managed the home while he worked. Riley handed over more documents. Actually, Your Honor, updated affidavits from Lisa and Mark, sworn post-review, confirm they fully back Mr. Thorne due to the overwhelming evidence. No joint decisions, the emails and logs prove unilateral transfers. The judge nodded, scanning them. Compelling, Mrs. Thorne. Your denials don't align with the records. The court finds for Mr. Thorne divorce granted on grounds of financial abuse. Unequal distribution, Mr. Thorne awarded exclusive use and possession of the marital home, with option to refinance or offset to buy out Mrs. Thorne's equity share. Larger portion of remaining joint assets to Mr. Thorne to compensate for dissipation. Judgment for reimbursement of $15,000 in misused funds, enforceable via liens or wage. Garnishment if unpaid. Spousal support denied due to misconduct and asset waste. Vesper bolted up, her chair scraping. Your Honor, no, that repayment will bankrupt me. The credit debt's already maxed. I can't cover it. Reconsider. I was trying to save our marriage. The judge banged the gavel. Ruling stands. Comply or face collection remedies. Adjourned. Riley shook my hand outside as my parents hugged me tight. Solid win, Thorne. Justice served. You're set to rebuild. Mom wiped a tear. We're here for you, son. That was tough, but right, Dad nodded. She got consequences. You get peace. Vesper caught me in the hall, her face pale and desperate, clutching her purse like a lifeline. Thorne, please, this ruins me. The judgment, no support, repayment order. I can't afford a lawyer to appeal now. The account's frozen, cards at limits. Help me for what we had. I'll change, sell stuff, anything. I looked at her steadily, the woman who'd nearly cost me my life for a beach trip. Help? Like you helped with my surgery? No, Vesper. You chose isolation over partnership, friends turned after the truth, family too. Face it alone, rebuild like I will. She grabbed my sleeve, pleading. Alone? I'll be broke, shunned, begging now, give me something. Alone, time. We were married 15 years. Dad stepped in gently. Let go, Vesper. You prioritized wrong. Now the bill's due. She released me, slumping against the wall, tears falling. Do? How? I thought I controlled it all. In the months after, I got back to full shifts at the site. Jack's and the crew slapping my back with congrats. You owned that, Thorne, Jack said over beers one night. Heard Vesper's scrambling, couldn't appeal. Assets liquidated for repayment. Socially done too, no one's talking to her. I nodded, raising my glass. Yeah, she's isolated now, facing her selfishness solo. But me? Surgery healed, home mine after refinance, debt cleared via the ruling. Family dinners weekly, crew like brothers, peace finally. Mom hosted barbecues, Dad helping with paperwork. Justice triumphed, son, he said, toasting. Through your courage and the truth. I rebuilt steady, finding joy in the work, the laughs, the support, affirming that standing up restores balance, healing the scars she left behind. Sometimes what we need isn't advice, but someone to stand by us and say, that's enough. If this story brings you even a little relief, drop a comment down below telling me where you're watching from and what time it is for you, right now. I read every line, and I make these videos to remind you, you are not alone. On screen right now, you'll see 2 news stories I think you'll really enjoy. There are many more waiting for you on the channel. So don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss one. See you in the next story. Until then, take care of yourself and the people you love. With all my love and respect.